Hey guys, it's Ricky with Techbud Solutions. So again, another week for our Sunday stock talk. So again, we tend to do these Sunday stock talks, you know, once a week on Sunday just to prepare us for this upcoming week of trading. So my volume looks to be working. So again, if you guys have any sort of communication with me through social media, group me, Facebook, message me, and even if you guys have my number, if you guys have any questions, anything you guys would like me to focus on, I do already have a couple questions from the group on the group meet, letting me know what they'd like me to focus on this Sunday stock talk. Some pretty good questions, and then some technical analysis that they'd like me to get into. I'm pretty much going to be talking about my best practices and my mistakes for this week, and if you guys didn't know, based on a couple videos that I showed, it was my my overall, like, the week. I had my two biggest wins. It was LPCN bringing me about $915 profit within like 5 minutes, and let me take a look. I believe it was INVT. I sold at 170 or 168. But yeah, so I was just looking at my account or my track record. It was INVT, and that was for $840 profit. I also lost on my second day for that time on INVT. Or NUGT, I lost about $215, and then on INVT the following day I lost $100. So I tend to not have big losses like that, and I tend not to have huge gains, as in like almost $1,000 gains that I trade with. So I trade with an at-risk account of 2,500. I tend to shoot for $250 every time I trade, so 10% profit. And my max loss, I try to keep it at 5%. The reason that I exceeded my max loss was because I traded NUGT, which is not a penny stock. It was trading at the $18 range, and I held overnight. And again, that one just, the commodity of gold just took a huge hit, and that's what led. And that was within 2 weeks. Just took a huge hit, and we lost a good amount of money with that one. So again, since I had a huge dip down, now we're gonna wait till the value of the dollar depreciates, and then gold tends to pick back up. And NUGT being a gold mining company, that will directly correlate to its success and its stock price. So we're just waiting and looking for a little bit more clues on when that's going to pick up, so we can let all you guys know, do your own analysis, and then we can write it up together. But it's gold, it always picks up. We just have to discover when. That was one of my biggest losses. INVT and NUG, or INVT, bought in at 125, sold at 167. Huge gain on that one again. I let the team know on UGT or INVT, that let me actually share my screen, just because I don't need you guys to be looking at me. It's better for you guys, to visually see what I was seeing. So let's go to INVT. INVT, based on this being one that I've traded quite often. Let me give me one quick second, guys. All right. Making sure that it's loading. And thank you guys again so much for taking some time out of your Sunday night, to watch my video. So I really do appreciate it. And we are good here. All right, INVT. So pretty much what I know about INVT is that it holds pretty well. At least it did. Hasn't had a drop this low in a really long time. Has an overall low at 71 cents. So just knowing that, we just knew that there's an overall low at 71 cents. And that's what, after that big drop, that's what I kind of knew that it was going to head down there, at least close to there. So right now it's trading at right about 80 cents. And we know it spikes up very often. This is a 1-year analysis. So, it looks like it tends to pop up at least once a month or maybe twice a month if you get lucky. But overall, realistically, it doesn't hold. And it did for a little bit. It spiked up. It was a steady spike, so it spiked up and it stayed above 150, which it usually doesn't. It usually trades between the 130 to 140 range. Held above that, and then had a big drop to 125, and that's when I wrote it to 167, topping out at around 170. And pretty much, again, I did not know that it was going to have that huge spike. I was preparing for a 10% gain. So based on this not happening yet, when I was trading this, what I was looking at is like, look, it was holding above 150. I know it has a safety. Yeah, at least it used to have a safety right along the one. Let me go a little bit further back. Right along the 130 range. And when it led to a bigger drop, and it led to the drop at 120, I bought in at 125, and then I wrote it up to 168 is where I sold out. The reason I knew it was going to stop out around 150 is because this was an old safety net. So again, like we say, old safety nets become new resistance levels. And with that being said, we knew there was a safety at 120. Once it hit 120, based on its history, it picked up. That's what my analysis was. So when it picked up in the morning, sold at 168, locked in my profit. And based on what I know of INVT, so this is why I always encourage you guys to at least know the trend of the company that you're trading. I knew the safety was at 120. I knew a resistance was at 150. I planned to originally sell from 125 to 140 was my goal. I saw the volume was high, so I wrote it up. I saw it squeeze above 160. I started, setting my stop loss so it could, lock in around there at 170, but my stop loss was triggered at 167. So I brought in, the $815 profit, or a little bit over $800. And then it ended up dropping. And people were asking me in the group, do you think INVT is going to pick back up? The reason I said no was because of the history. So because of the history, spikes up and drops, spikes up, drops, spikes up, drops, spikes up, drops, spike, drop, spike, drop. Continues that trend throughout the whole, the whole company itself. It gets manipulated enough to, people squeeze it up. Those that know where to sell, sell. So, I didn't want to get too greedy. I sold at a little bit above what I was expected to sell at, but I locked in my profits. And when I went into it the second time, I bought in at 145. So let me go to a 5-day analysis and change this to 5 minutes. I bought in at 145, and then it picked up to 155. I should have sold. And I had a stop loss because every time I put a limit order to buy and it gets filled, I have a stop loss at about 2 to 5%. And my stop loss, just because the volume was so high, was triggered, and then it just went on a steady drop. So, thankfully I had that stop loss, so I only lost, I believe, like 5 cents per share. So I lost about $40 there. But overall, I cut my losses short, had my gains, pretty big, and then it just trickled back down. 30 people thought that I was gonna, again, resistance based on the history at 130 or 140, and then drop back down. And then the reason that it dropped overall was something was released through the newsletter that just led to a huge drop. And now it's been kind of plateauing at 180. So what is it that we're expecting now for INVT? Either dropping down to 71 and then breaking that, or picking up like CIE did. And again, we have this gap to fill. These are my alerts that I have set. So we have this gap to fill right here. So I have my alert when INVT passes 90, when it goes above 90, to alert me, because now I know that the volume is going to spike up all the way to 120, which is a huge, 30% profit there alone. So that's pretty much what I'm waiting for. So I'm going to be patient, make sure that, I'm missing out on about 10 cents or 10% right here. But again, I want to make sure that I'm buying at a price that I minimize my loss. So based on the history of me trading, when they break, these critical points and these critical resistance levels, I know there's going to be a resistance right here after this is broken, because once it goes up and then passes this is unknown territory. So it tends to spike up, hit 120, either hold above 120 or drop back down. Realistically, I'm going to probably be selling at $1 to 110 once this ends up happening, just to lock in my gains. But just really excited for what is to come for IMVT. So make sure you trade smart, since it's a smaller stock now. I'd suggest to not hold overnight, as it could fluctuate pretty hard. But this is definitely one of the big gainers for this week, and has a lot of potential for this upcoming week. Now going into one of the questions that we have in the group, what percentage of your income should you designate for investing rather than saving or other methods? All right, I'm going to flip the camera back to me. So what I'd suggest, not people, but there's certain investors that say you should save about like 5 to 10% of what it is that you make, into a savings account is usually the traditional method, or a 401k. You're essentially going to be your own broker when you're a day trader, and you want to see a larger return than 3.5%, which is the average return if you keep it at a 401k. I would say no matter what your income is. It really does matter, because the more you make, you probably don't want to put all that into savings, but if you can, then great. I put about 50% of my income into investing, but I put into different investments. But I mainly put into, I increase my account if everything goes well within the month of trading for about $500. So last month I was at a risk account of $2,000. I felt a little bit more comfortable now, put $2,500. This upcoming month I'm going to probably do $3,000. And my account overall is a little bit under $20,000 for trading, and that just means that if I want to trade a couple different days and give that money time to settle, then I don't have to touch those individual $3,000. I have a couple more dollars to be able to invest in different companies without touching that. But all at one time, I risk about $2,500 at a time. So I would say, if you can shoot, this is a big number, especially because we're all in different positions, but if you can shoot for 20%, not just for trading, I say for trading, grow your account with $50 to $100, depending on how much you're making. If you can put $50 to $100 every paycheck, in the long run, you're going to have quite a bit of money. And if you can save more, then save more. You really have to. I started cutting down my expenses just because I wanted to see how much I could save, and based on me having like no car payments and anything like that, like I was able to save a lot of money. I started just eating at home, cooking for myself with all my buddies, and it's really led to me saving like a couple hundred a month, and with that I can just use that and put it into just my portfolio. And grow it there. And if not, then you can use that just for different investments. If you want to do it for your car, if you want to, save it for just a house, or, just a vacation, if that's what you want to do. So just make sure you realize, you're the one that's understanding the current situation that you're in. Let's say you make $1,000 every paycheck, then I say if you can save $100 and put that into an account, or put it into something that can appreciate, 10%, that's great. Putting 10% away. So that's what I'd recommend for the average. If you can save a little bit more, then why not? And if you want to cut back a little bit, then so be it. The whole point is just to be better than average, and more. The average people don't. They spend 110% of what they make. So just save money. I say if you can shoot for a $500 savings overall, then that would be the goal. What I'm doing with my little sister, what I'm trying to do is saving $800, a month for her. She's 16 right now, so by the age of 20, continuing later on when she gets a job and stuff, just realistically on average, $800, shooting for about $50,000 by age 20, just so she has enough for a down payment on her house, whatever it is that she wants to do, just to kind of make sure that she doesn't have to worry about money, when she hits 20. And make a plan for yourself. Reach out to me. You can ask me what I think about it. I'd love to be able to help if I possibly can. So hopefully that answered your question. The next question is by him again. I also have a question about if that's all right, which is very general. Are there any downsides of using Robinhood for executing trades? It seems like the best options in terms of avoiding commission costs for brokers. That's a good question. Robinhood is great. You don't have to pay commissions and stuff like that. Later on, when I start, hopefully when I start trading with like above $10,000, like at risk account, my account overall is like, 50 to $100,000, then I'm gonna probably be using, the larger brokerage and not be too worried about the fees, because at that point, if I'm, shooting for 10%, I'm gonna be making like in a sense a lot more, that because of the different tools and the different options and the different platforms that these different companies offer, that it's gonna be more cost effective to just work with them all together and have them hold, just my cash. Robinhood is still a developing app, has a lot of glitches, has a lot of issues, and they limit you to what you could trade, especially if you don't have a large enough account. Um, I say for beginners, it's an amazing, just so you get the concept, you don't have to worry about, commission fees, especially if you have a smaller account, like below $1,000. Um, I personally really do enjoy it. I use that one, Fidelity mainly. Then I use TD Ameritrade as my brokerage, or my live platform. But I really like Robinhood, and they're trying to come out, with different things. I've sent them emails, trying to suggest things that I think, like alerts and being able to do more of a technical analysis and having a desktop version to be a little bit more intuitive when it comes to, the trader. But it's mainly designed for more of the millennial, just type of investor, because it's on, your smartphone and stuff like that. But yeah, no commissions is no commission, so it definitely helps out if you have a smaller account. Now I have one of my messages, by my buddy JT. He just sent me a message. Sweet, yeah, I'll definitely get on that one. Um, just told me to analyze a certain stock, and then we have Cyrus. What are your thoughts on what takes up to be, I'm guessing, be a success? Um, look, look some trades, compounding interest. Okay, I think the best way to be successful, is to have a plan. The reason you're trading is to make a lot of money, or to make money, extra money if you have your normal job, like I do, and then different sources of income, and trading is going to be another one. You can definitely treat it as a career, but starting now, being realistic, you might not want to just have it as your main source of income. But I say have a plan. I have a 5-year plan that's spread out, that tells me how much my what my goal is overall. My goal realistically on paper is $150 a day. My goal mentally, like what I want to shoot for, is $250. So everything above 150, based on my graph analysis, is just gravy. But yeah, and I really just enjoy the whole environment of creating, like this Excel sheet that creates a graph that tells me by in 1 year, 2 months, I'm going to be at this certain like 4,050%, of what I originally started out with my 2,500. And this is how much more I'm going to be making monthly based on that. And it's just, it all clicks together. Monthly, you can kind of check back and be like, look, I'm only up $10, or I'm only up $100, or I'm only up $1,000. And I should be up, this much, or my goal was just 500. I'm up 600. And then, just so you stay consistent, you don't have to be so aggressive at sometimes. And it's kind of like work. If you know where you stand, and kind of like school, if you know where you stand and you have a better understanding of how it is that you're doing when it comes to trading, then you'll be more likely to hit your goals. But yeah, my goal again overall for the month is to hit about 100 to 110, 150% growth on my initial investment. So it'd either be from 2,500 to 3,000. That is my personal like goal. On paper, um, it's less, but I've been exceeding my goal by almost double of what I'm used to. This week alone, I brought in with all my losses and stuff like that, still over $1,000, which is pretty much my goal. Because again, I'm not doing this as like my main source of income. I'm doing it just to have a steady plan. And I'm just really excited for what I've been able to see with myself and with all the groups. So I know if I can continue, this trend of growth that later on when I'm simply even just like, in a couple months trading with the at-risk $10,000 account, hitting 10% at the success rate that I have right now, I could be bringing in, closer to $20,000 to $30,000 a month, just based on the same concept that I'm doing, and it makes sense because I have this graph and I have how much larger my account's going to be if I continue my hard work and my dedication to stay consistent and not give up, and that's what's going to lead to my success and your success. So just have a plan and go accordingly and know where you stand when it comes to how you're doing when it comes to trading. Okay, actually, yeah, INVT. So Joe was actually asking about that. Hopefully my analysis that I did earlier helped out with that. But my analysis for INVT is I do have a bunch of alerts set. Once it triggers it, I'm ready to hop right on. So just make sure you guys set your alerts. Fidelity is a great company to set alerts on, and so is TD Ameritrade. So download like the mobile application and the desktop application, and it's going to be very helpful. Oh shoot, I skipped one. It's AJ. AUPH and IPs are looking forward to a great week. Sweet. AUPH. All right, I'm gonna start sharing my screen real quick. Give me one quick second to search up. I saw you guys, one of the people in group me shouting this one out. I believe had a huge drop, if I'm not mistaken. Oh no. Let's see. Yeah, almost a 10% loss. All right, so again, this is my Fidelity application where I can do my technical analysis. So it looks like this is pretty, it moves quite a bit for being, a stock well over $1. What I can see here is right away, lows within 1 year, highs within 1 year, right? And we're pretty high within the year. Let's do a 5-year analysis. Oh, wow. That's crazy. You see where we just topped it out? That's why it topped out because, about 4 years ago, or no, wait, this company's only been here for 3 years or 2.5. So 2015, it topped out at 575 around there. So that's why, based on trends, that's what happened. Stopped out again about a year ago, right here at 148. And again, right here, right around 148. So you see, that's pretty much what you have to go based off of 6 months ago. It's way too high for me in my liking. It looks like it has a pretty strong safety. I'm going to say this isn't a bad one, and it looks like it has different levels of trading. So what I mean by that is, from here to here, and then from here to this one. So this, I'd say level 1, level 2, level 3. Right now it's in level 3, so too high for me. In a sense, you'd be able to ride it to around $4 and try to ride it back up. But again, you have to see a 40% gain to hit your 10% potential, and the risk for it to continue dropping down is a lot higher. So I'd say, based on its history, if you buy in closer to the $2 range, you'd have a higher success rate overall to ride it up, and hitting, just the 220 right away. So it definitely looks like a company that can be traded. What I'd do is for AUPH, I'm going to set my alerts. And I'm going to put when it drops below, what was that again? When it drops below $3, or let's do it consistent. When it drops below 4, when it drops below 3, and when it drops below 250. So 4, 3, and 250. Drops below, drops below, drops below, drops below, and then 1 that goes, rises above. So drops below 4, 350. 3, drops below 250, then rises above, what was that resistance? If it rises above 580, then it broke the overall resistance, which can send the stock spiking. So 580, and then you can write little notes. Broken resistance. Looks like I don't know how to spell. No. and then safety at $2. Safety at $2. And these, alerts with these notes really help because sometimes, you set these alerts like a month, and a month later, it's triggered. And what does it mean to you? With these little things, it kind of just, sends you a little notification, letting you know and keeping you up to date on where it stands, and what your analysis was. So complete setup, and we are done for that one. Yeah, definitely looks like a good company to invest in once it's more in the first to second, levels of trading, just to increase your chances of success. IPCI. Advanced chart. Overall, again, safety around 140. Resistance all the way up here. But like, it's hitting a resistance, and I'm going to click it here and not there. The reason why is because, or actually right here, based on this one, and like that resistance right there is the same as it was right here. So what we would be expecting is there's a safety where it kind of catches like right here. You see that it bounces between this area, and it does so here as well. So now we're just trying to determine, where these levels of trading are. It looks like there's a slight resistance right there, as you can see here, and here as well, and then another one right here. So what I'd say is, now that I discovered this, is I can set my alerts according to this. So, it's trading right now at 238. I'd say when it starts to drop below, tends to bounce pretty hard around the 170 to 180 mark. So when it goes below, like 195, you can set your alerts that, or put a note that the safety is at 173, and that be ready for the bounce. And just know that this is, a safety net, and it can be broken, which can lead to a larger drop all the way down to 140, which is the overall safety net, and then it could tend to pick back up. But yeah, so that's pretty much my analysis on IPCI. Let me go ahead and set my alerts, but definitely now add this one to my watch list. Any selects, add. Oh wow, that was weird. Okay, looks like I have more than 50 and I can't add any more to that individual one. I'll have to create another one. But I'll set my alerts so when it drops below this one, when it drops below $2, 180, 150, and then overall drops below. It drops below 135. So broken safety, which means new lows, and then rises above. Let's say like 240 or 250, which could send it on a break to 310. And I'll set to say at 320. So I have to change that to rises above. I believe I said 350. Yeah. IVT, TGD. That was sent out by Julian Ramos. I already think this one's too hard. I'm just barely looking at it, but that's just my opinion. Um, Definitely looks like it's a stock that moves around pretty often. It looks like it could pretty. It's a nice stock. Looks like it sticks according to technical analysis, as in you could determine safety nets and resistance levels and all that stuff. So safety overall right here, about a little bit under 10 cents. So this is truly a penny stock, and then resistance levels right here, topping out. It's trading pretty high. There's a resistance right here, as you can see, but overall, topping out here around almost 65 cents. I would feel more comfortable buying at this bounce because it holds pretty well. As you can see, it also tends to hold pretty well around 140. So if you see that it touches 140 and you see that upward momentum, just know there's a resistance, just an easier resistance right around 155. So with that, TGD, definitely do think this one has potential, especially if you can catch it on the bounce. Just make sure you don't buy in exactly at 140 because it could continue to bleed down to 22 or all the way down to 10 cents, which could lead to large amounts of losses. So TGD or TGD, I'll set my alerts. Drops below, drops below. If you guys want to set these alerts with me. So when it drops below 40, that'll be an overall safety. When it drops below 30, and if it drops below 20, below safety at 0.09. Or this one's more like safety at 0.2 first, and then at 0.09. And then prices above, well, 70 was the resistance, so. And then we're going to go to this one, analyze WTI. This one looks like a good one. All right, we just passed the 30-minute mark, so if you guys need to go, I definitely do understand. We're pretty much going to be finishing up in about 5 minutes. Just want to do this analysis and going to just do some closing statements. Overall safety, right there. Resistance, well, overall right there, but looks to be like a pretty strong one right here. Looks like it was squeezed up pretty high and then a steady drop. So most likely going to catch around the 120. No, more likely around here since that was a tight squeeze. Around the 135 range. Yeah, you guys could see this right here. Tends to bounce right around the $2 mark just because, they like those numbers. And right now it looks to be holding pretty well above 160. So just know, these different areas you can ride from 160 and it looks like it tops out here around the 180, 175. So from 160 to 175, you're looking at 15%, 15 cents, which necessarily isn't your 10%, it's more like 8, but definitely one that can be traded and that can be squeezed from time to time. I'd feel more comfortable buying at the all-time low of around 136 when I see that upward momentum, or at least around the 150 mark as it was trading here. This was, and this was actually trading around that same area, so it could be expecting a big spike. Yeah. So I would set my alerts here. And this one's more one that can be manipulated a bit easier. So this is probably one that's going to be breaking. So drops below, I'm just going to put it for my safety, 160. And if it drops below 150, and then if it rises above 170, we know that it's about to break. Breaking resistance 50. Okay. Alrighty. I do have these different ones that I was doing an analysis on. It looks like DNR is going to have, I already set my alerts for 250, so when it be ready for the bounce right around that 250 mark, as you can see based on the history, this being a strong, resistance, being a new safety, and it looks to have a resistance after it bounces from the 250 right around the 350 area, so about $1 potential for profit. You essentially would need to hit 20 cents to hit your overall 10% goal. Definitely, this is one that I'd set my alerts, try to trade according to that, make sure you're buying in upward momentum, and understand the safety nets and resistance levels. And I'll just draw that down there just so it looks pretty. But yeah, as you guys can see, it tends to play around the 250 to 350 area pretty well. SPU has a safety right around where it's kind of trading, so it could be expecting a pretty big spike. I would be predicting the spike, if anything, around the $10 mark. But yeah, it does also have a safety around the 590 before that big drop all the way down to about the dollar mark. So this is one that trades pretty often, especially by those big name traders like Tim Sykes and all those people that talk about SPU pretty often. But looks like the trend line, or I mean the spikes are those like big big spikes that are happening are experiencing a steady drop. So with this, you see that it's slowly, the spikes aren't as large and they tend to decrease. So that's why I'm saying if it does end up seeing a spike, right around the $10 mark is probably where you should be trying to, your target sell should be based on the analysis. EBIO is one that I have my alerts on, tends to have resistance at $2, and it's as you can see, had that huge drop and then had that huge spike all the way up here. So $2 can either be a huge drop. Make sure that you're buying at the upward momentum range, so it has a lot to make up, but it also has a lot to lose from $2 all the way down to 50 cents. So make sure you're buying, and you set your alerts according to your buys. SCTY looks like it has a safety right along this area. As you can see, based on the history, this being an overall low here around the 1630 range, and then right here, 1650 range, and then right along here. Right now it's around 1675. So I'd say this one's waiting, for a break. It's right around the $18 mark, so I'd say be a little bit more patient, set your alerts, so when it drops below 17, then you're going to be ready to buy and ready back up to the $20 mark. LPCN. LPCN is the one that we traded that had that huge spike. And again, I'm just going to kind of go into details, sharing my best practices and why I chose to trade it. Not expecting this huge spike, but just setting myself or preparing for success. There's a really strong safety at $4, and it set that safety. It was kind of holding there for about the past 2 weeks. Was hitting highs of 460, and that was my overall goal, to buy at four. Just what happened here, around the 413 or 410 $4 range, and sell at 460, locking in my 10% profit. This one's not a penny stock, so it's not as volatile, but definitely a lot of potential, especially with their new FDA approvals that they're waiting for. I thought that it could lead to a pretty big spike. Did not expect this at all. Was projected to hit $25, but it never actually did. And I was able to do a tight squeeze from 413, which is, I let the team know. Don't know if I'm going to be able to go. Yeah, we talked too much in this group for me to go back to that individual trade, but I believe I shared it on my how I made 915 on LPCN video, that I shared my buy at 413 right before I actually bought it, and then the following day after I held, since it wasn't a penny stock, went up all the way up to 590 and then sold at 535 is where I sold, locking in my $915 profit with a $2,500 account. So very realistic, prepared for success, was reaching for a 10% or shooting for a 10% goal, but because of me, preparing and shooting for success led me to, just excessive success with the trade. So I had about 30 to 40% profit on this one. Overall, really excited. Does have a lot of potential. Do I feel comfortable buying? If I feel comfortable buying, I'm going to have to see upward momentum, and that's going to be from the 520 bounce all the way up to the 550, and then it continues. But it's been kind of plateauing. So this week is kind of determine if it's going to hold above $5 and spike or drop back down. But what I wanted to touch base on was $6 is where it used to trade right before that huge drop. So once it breaks $6, most likely we're going to see a huge spike or either just a big drop. So just understand that. This is what led to the huge drop, and it built up, and it led to almost touching it based on it almost hitting, $6, and that's why the resistance was so hard for it to hit. But definitely, keep your alerts out for LPCN. If it breaks $6, most likely going to be trading around this area again before it comes back down here. So just have your alerts ready, and people, set yourself up for some success. But yeah, that was pretty much just another Sunday stock talk. So just really excited for this week. I'm kind of pumped because I had such a great week. But again, don't trade with emotion. You have to be kind of just systematic when it comes to trading and really understand what it is that you're trading. That's what I really want to focus on. You should not be trading anything you don't understand. If you cannot make sense of why you're buying at a certain price and you can't label it as a good buy, then don't trade. If you miss out on a huge gain, great. If you miss out on a huge drop, then great. If you don't understand what you're trading, then you should not be trading it. Join the group. It's a free group you can join. I'm going to put the link down below. We're almost about to break 300 members on Facebook, and we have about 300 members on the group me. So overall, just really excited for everything that we have going on. And yeah, just stay realistic, set yourself up for some success, and just you guys are smart people. Trade smart. Don't trade based on anyone else's opinion, and that will definitely lead to your success. So I'm gonna start doing or uploading some vlogs that I've been doing with just different supercars and stuff like that, and trying to help my buddies out. But I'm gonna try vlogging and see if that catches on. If that's something that you'd be interested in, for me to start posting, then just let me know. But I feel like just because of like my GTR and my buddies having different supercars, that it could be something interesting that you guys or something entertaining that you guys can find. So I'm buying a couple different cameras. I'm looking into one of the Mavics, and then a Canon G7X. So let me know what you guys think about that, and if you guys have any suggestions, please reach out to me, and anything that you guys would like me to do. I want to be traveling a little bit more. So reach out to me, and I'd love to be able to help you guys out any way that I can. And thank you guys again so much for putting time aside on your Sunday night to watch this video. So we have a lot of great people in the group, just a great environment overall, and just utilize it to your fullest potential. Use us all as tools to your success. I'm here to help you guys out. So many more people that are so much more successful than I am are actually in the group, and just really excited for what it is to come. So I hope you guys have a good Sunday night, and let's make sure we start the week on a green note. Yeah, market opens here at 6:30 Mountain Standard Time up to 1 p.m. I'm going to be trading for about 2 hours, like I do from 6:30 to 8:30, and then just setting my alerts from then on. So thank you guys again so much. I hope you guys have a good night, and if you guys can give it a like and a thumbs up or subscribe, then I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you guys.